How does the UK want to flourish after leaving the EU? One of the few concrete projects is the establishment of free ports. The city of Southampton has high hopes for it. But are they too much? It has been almost 5 years to the day since the British voted for Brexit in June 2016. Far less clear than the result of the referendum is what the UK specifically needs to leave the EU for. To regain control, that was the battle cry of the hardliners, including Prime Minister Boris Johnson, for example, to conclude their own trade agreements and stop the free movement of people. In addition, there has never been a list of specific policy goals London would like to achieve after regaining full control. But one exception stands out, and Johnson seldom hesitates to mention it: the creation of free ports. This is a form of special economic zones. What sounds technical is music for Brexit ears because it sounds like freedom and Britain's tradition as a trading nation. In his first speech as head of government in July 2019, right after his inaugural visit to the Queen, Johnson praised free ports as growth drivers that would create thousands of highly qualified jobs in remote regions. Southampton would probably not see itself as a detached region. The city on the Canal Coast is home to the country's second largest container port and is the largest loading port for car exports. The UK's largest oil refinery is there, and Southampton also has a long history as a passenger port. Not only did the Titanic set sail from there, but also the Mayflower, where the steamers used to set off for America with Europe's emigrants. The large cruise ships dock today. Why become a free port there? The status could give us a boost. We are creating an almost unique opportunity here to attract investment, says Sue Simonite, as Associated British Ports, the operator of several ports in the country. Simonite is responsible for development and environmental issues in the port of Southampton. Over the next 25 years, the free port could create 26,000 direct and a further 26,000 indirect jobs and generate a total of £3.6 billion in added value. She cites hopeful forecasts. This is a really significant government initiative, says Simonite. The port of Southampton played an important role in promoting the Solent as a free port. The Solent is the strait between the Isle of Wight and the English south coast. The port of neighbouring Portsmouth, Southampton Airport and some commercial areas are also part of the Solent Free Port project. That convinced the government in its competition for the award as a free port. In March, just 3 months after the UK withdrew from the EU internal market, it selected 8 winners from 18 English applicants. Now the winners are developing detailed business plans. From the end of the year, the free port status could apply. A free port is a free trade and special economic zone in which mostly loose regulations and tax breaks apply in order to attract companies. It also forms its own customs area. No duties or taxes are due when goods are imported or exported. The Jebel Ali Free Zone in Dubai, which connects to the port of the Emirate, is the world's largest and perhaps best known free trade zone. And an example of success. Where decades ago there was only desert, there are now over 7,000 companies. The free ports send a strong message that Great Britain seriously wanted to use Brexit freedoms, praised the free market think tank Institute of Economic Affairs when Johnson launched the concept. Free trade and free ports put Great Britain on the right course when we sail out of the EU and into the world, stated the Adam Smith Institute. Now, Great Britain is not Dubai, where state money only played a subordinate role, which is reflected in the complete exemption from profit taxes in the Jebel Ali Free Zone. But people also want to be generous on the British Isles. The Ministry of Finance is planning a bundle of substantial tax and duty relief for companies setting up in free ports and is also offering the free ports a subsidy of £175 million. So it is a good thing that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, is an avowed advocate of free ports and promoted them as a simple MP as early as 2016. Southampton is also Sunak's birthplace. There should be no lack of support. Above all, the depreciation option will make it more attractive for companies to settle here, Simonite expects from the port operator APB. Located directly on Europe's most important sea routes, particularly accessible as a deep-sea port and with a good rail connection to the English hinterland, Southampton sees itself in a strong position. ABP is examining how the port infrastructure can be expanded. DP World, which operates the container terminal on behalf of ABP, has already made investments of £40 million, and the Dubai-based company is one of the world's largest port managers and also manages the Jebel Ali Free Zone. Financial incentives for companies are not welcomed everywhere. Another UK think tank in a report published in May that it is that way. While individual companies benefited from the advantages, the disadvantages would be felt more broadly due to the public costs, it says there. The experts also have another concern. If the location conditions in the free trade zones are better than in the rest of the country, companies could just relocate there and bring forward investments that are already planned. A success of the free ports could come at the expense of other regions without stimulating additional expansion. But how can that be prevented? In Southampton, possibly, because not every company can pitch their tents in the free zones. We are confident that the companies have to do with the port and have to be located there in order to take advantage of its advantages, says the ABP manager Simonite. Space is precious on the port area, and how it is used needs to be carefully considered. Recent history reveals a mixed record. Free ports are not the only special economic zones in the UK. So-called enterprise zones also offer tax and regulatory advantages. These include, for example, the Docklands in London, where the Canary Wharf Financial Centre has grown out of port facilities and docks. But a study by the think tank Centre for Cities showed that between 2012 and 2017, only a quarter of the jobs that the Treasury Department had promised were created in the enterprise zones. Around a third of this was relocated and not created, and the jobs were mostly less skilled. There's only one Canary Wharf. Free ports, however, offer something that enterprise zones do not have: the tariff advantage. In contrast to the British customs area or a third country, no customs duties are levied on the import and export of goods. If the import duty of a target market for the components of a product is significantly higher than for the end product, it can make sense to import the components duty-free into the free trade area, to process them there, and then to export the end product. Free ports would then not only be trading sites but also production sites. This has made it a model for success in the USA, for example, for the auto and pharmaceutical industries. Nothing is currently being produced in the port of Southampton. It would be great to attract manufacturing industry, says ABP manager Simonite. Whether the production is worthwhile depends crucially on the customs structure. After Brexit, the UK set very low import tariffs, including on components. Usually they are already lower than for the end products. An analysis by the economists at the UK Trade Policy Observatory showed that there are few customs constellations that favor processing in the free ports. Exceptions include dairy and dog food ingredients and some alcohols and vegetable oils, but all of these accounted for less than 1% of UK imports of components in 2019. What some Brexiteers also hate to talk about: free ports are not a new invention. They already existed in Great Britain of all times during EU membership. A total of 7 free ports existed on the island between 1984 and 2012. They can still be found in the EU, but across the English Channel. The status of the last 5 expired under the Conservative government of David Cameron. The advantages of free ports can also be achieved in other ways, it was said at the time, among other things. However, there is a big difference between the old EU free ports and the new British ones. Those of the EU are subject to the alliance rules for granting state aid. With Brexit, Great Britain freed itself from this corset and only has to comply with the weaker rules of the World Trade Organization, the WTO. In addition, the new free ports do not have to be physically bound to a seaport. Among the 8 winners, East Midlands Airport and the city of Liverpool also qualified as free ports. The government is thus keeping many options open as to where it wants to promote, but it could be argued that free ports can only ever count as the second best choice, states the UK think tank in a changing Europe. If tariffs or regulations were too high, then they would have to be lowered for the whole country. But if they were appropriate, why should they be reduced to a limited area? One possible answer could be as regional development aid for an economic desert area, based on the example of Dubai. Such conditions are rare in the motherland of industrialization, and Brexit Britain will not be able to deregulate to the same extent as the Emirate. Free ports cannot and will not replace long-term economic policy, according to an analysis by the Weser Economic Research Institute. At best, they are part of a political menu, but certainly not the main course, they say. And I'll see you in my next video. Auf Wiedersehen.